Right now, above your house, there's enough water floating in the air to fill a few water bottles. Tonight, for free, you're just not collecting it. It's a trick German farmers brought over a few hundred years ago. The Amish in Ohio and Pennsylvania never stopped using it, and somehow almost every video covering this online still gets it wrong. I'm fixing that today. 4 parts. And the last one's the one that decides whether you end up with clean water or a bad night. Hack 1. The $12 mesh. Okay, first thing, we're taught water basically comes from 2 places, the ground or the sky. That's not wrong exactly, it's just incomplete, because there's water hanging in the air around you right now that you can't see, and most people never think about. It's just sitting there in the air, waiting for something cold enough to grab it. German settlers who became the Pennsylvania Dutch didn't have a name for dew point. They just noticed that a cold bucket left outside overnight had water on it by morning. That wasn't there when they put it down. That's it. That's the whole discovery. Somebody noticed a wet bucket a couple hundred years ago, and that's the foundation of everything I'm about to tell you. It's actually the same reason a cold soda sweats on a hot day, or your bathroom mirror fogs up after a shower. Warm air just can't hold onto its moisture once it touches something cooler, so it lets go. Multiply that by an entire night outside, and you've basically built a tiny weather system in your backyard. Except this one's working for you instead of just making your glass wet. So here's the build. $12, give or take, and 1 trip to a hardware store. 4 pieces of PVC, 1 inch, zip tied into a rectangle, roughly 4 feet by 3 feet, doesn't need to be exact. Stretch shade cloth over it, the fine stuff, not the loose garden mesh, and zip tie it down tight. If you can push your finger into it and make a dent, it's too loose. Do it again. Why does it matter so much? Because if there's any sag, water just sits in that low spot and evaporates by morning instead of running anywhere. Tight mesh. Water rolls straight off it. Put a gutter underneath the bottom edge. Done. That's the whole thing. People always ask me why not just use a tarp instead of mesh. Since a tarp's basically free too. Don't. A solid surface like a tarp heats up and cools down too fast, and it doesn't have the surface area mesh has. Mesh has thousands of tiny fibers, each one its own little collection point. A tarp's just one flat sheet. You want the fibers. Now here's where people mess it up, and I mean almost everybody messes this up the same exact way. They lay it flat, like a table. Makes sense in your head. More surface area, pointed at the sky. More water, right? Wrong. Flat means the water just sits there with nowhere to go. And the second the sun comes up, it's gone. It took you 20 minutes to build a bird bath. Lean it back instead. 15, maybe 30 degrees off vertical, and point it into whatever direction the wind's coming from in the evening. Just walk outside, feel which way the air's moving, point the frame that way. Height matters too, actually, more than people think. Don't just sit it right on the dirt. Prop it up at least a foot off the ground on some bricks or cinder blocks. Ground-level air is usually warmer and drier than the air just above it, so you're cutting your own collection short if the bottom of your frame is touching grass. Set it up before dark, go to bed. Forget about it. By morning, you've usually got somewhere around a liter. That's basically 4 cups. Enough water for a day if you needed it, and you did nothing except sleep. Somewhere humid, near a coast, in a valley, you might get double that or more off the exact same setup. If you don't have PVC lying around, there's an older version of this. Costs nothing if you know somebody with sheep. Hack 2. The fleece. Nobody talks about wool's weird. It pulls moisture straight out of the air, almost aggressively. And a dry fleece can hold something like 1/3 of its own weight in water before it even feels damp. So a fleece that weighs 10 pounds dry could be holding an extra 3 pounds of water by morning. just sitting there. That's actually one of the reasons raw wool feels heavier on a humid morning than it does on a dry one, even before you've touched it. Farmers who shear early in the day versus late afternoon will tell you the fleece weighs differently depending on when they cut it. And it's the same thing happening, just on a slower scale. Find a sheep farmer. Ask for a rough fleece, the kind that's too coarse to spin into anything. They'll usually just give it to you. It's basically trash to them. Hang it on a fence post or a branch before sundown. Let air hit it from all sides. Leave it overnight. In the morning, before the sun gets to it, take it down and wring it out into a bucket, section by section, like you're wringing a towel. What comes out is real water. Same source as the mesh, just a different collector. And the families who've done this forever never thought it was clever or interesting. It's just what the land gave them if they paid attention. But say you've got no PVC and no sheep farmer either. There's a third option, and this one costs you literally nothing. Hack 3. The grass drag. Most people look at a field of tall grass at dawn and just see wet shoes waiting to happen. Homesteaders looked at the same field and saw a reservoir. Grass works like millions of tiny collection surfaces, and overnight, dew settles on every single blade. Here's the move. Tear an old cotton shirt or towel into strips. Wrap them around your ankles and calves, tie them snug so they don't slip, and start walking. Walk through the tallest, thickest grass you can find right around sunrise, before the sun has a chance to burn the dew off. You don't need to do anything fancy. The fabric drags through the wet grass, picks up moisture off thousands of blades, and within 10 or 15 minutes, those strips are soaked through. Heavy, dripping. Stop, untie them, wring them out into a bucket. Tie them back on. Keep walking. It looks a little ridiculous, you walking through a field with wet rags tied to your legs. But it's an old trick. People have been dragging cloth through wet grass to collect water for a long time, and it costs you nothing. Depending on the grass and how heavy the dew is, you can pull a decent amount of water in 20 or 30 minutes just from a morning walk. Same as the mesh. Same as the fleece, though. This still needs the boil before you drink it. And that brings us to the part everyone skips. Hack 4. The part everyone skips. You're probably already wondering, is this actually safe to drink? Good. Keep wondering that, because most videos covering this want you to stop wondering. Here's the real answer. This water is cleaner than most water you'd find lying around outside. That's true. It never touched dirt, never ran through a field, never sat in some old rusty pipe for 20 miles. But cleaner doesn't mean safe. And that gap is where people get hurt. That mesh sitting out all night, that fleece, that wet grass, all of it is also collecting dust, pollen, bug parts, whatever wandered through in the dark. You won't see any of that. It just looks like clean water. So build the filter anyway. Cut the bottom off a bottle, flip it upside down, layer it cotton, then charcoal, then sand on top. Pour the water through. It drips through all 3 layers into something clean underneath. Helps with grit, helps with taste, genuinely useful. But it won't kill bacteria. It won't touch parasites. If something tells you a sand filter alone makes this completely safe, that's not true. That's just a good thumbnail. So here's the actual fix, and it's almost too simple to put in a video, which is maybe why nobody does. Boil it. 1 minute, real boil, and whatever the filter missed is gone. Not exciting. Nobody wants to film a pot of water boiling. But that's the actual difference between a fun weekend thing and a really bad Tuesday. You've basically been told your whole life that if you stop paying somebody, you go thirsty. That's not really true. It's just been convenient for somebody else if you believed it. A pipe only works as long as the company running it decides it should. The air doesn't send you a bill, doesn't have an outage. Been doing the exact same thing every night for longer than any water companies existed. Build the mesh whenever. Grab a fleece if you can. Drag some rags through wet grass if that's all you've got. Boil it before you drink it. Every single time. And if you want the next one of these, stick around. There's more of this stuff just sitting around that nobody talks about.